On November 19, 2025, 6 members of the United States Congress posted a short video. They were veterans, former military officers, former intelligence officials. The video had one simple message: members of the armed forces are not required to follow unlawful orders. That is not a controversial statement. It is written directly into the military code of conduct. It is a principle that American soldiers have upheld since Nuremberg. But Donald Trump read that video as a personal attack, and his response, posted publicly on Truth Social for the entire world to see, was 4 words: seditious behavior, punishable by death. A sitting president of the United States called for the execution of 6 members of Congress, by name, in writing, on the official record. 3 weeks later, on December 11, 2025, 140 members of the House of Representatives voted to advance articles of impeachment against him. Not in a press conference, not in a tweet, in a formal, recorded roll call vote in the United States House of Representatives. This is hidden agenda. And this is the story of what happens when a president threatens the people whose job it is to hold him accountable. To understand what the 140 votes actually mean, you need to understand exactly what Trump said and why it was different from everything that came before it. The 6 lawmakers who made the video were not random political opponents. They were veterans, people who had served in uniform, who understood military law, who knew that the principle they were stating, that soldiers must refuse illegal orders, is foundational to the American military tradition. They were not calling for insurrection. They were restating a legal standard that has existed since American forces prosecuted war crimes after World War II. Trump's response was not a political attack. It was not a harsh campaign statement. It was a specific, documented threat posted on a public platform that a sitting president controls. Seditious behavior, punishable by death. The White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt later walked it back, saying Trump did not actually want the members executed, but the post remained. The words remained, and the lawmakers named in that post, sitting members of the United States Congress, spent the days that followed receiving a surge of threats, real threats, from real people, against their real lives. That is the context that Representative Al Green of Texas acted on when he filed H-Res 939 on December 10, 2022 articles of impeachment. Article 1, abuse of presidential power by calling for the execution of members of Congress. Article 2, abuse of presidential power to intimidate federal judges. Both documented, both specific, both based on conduct that exists in the public record. On December 11, 2025, the House voted on whether to bury Al Green's impeachment resolution. The motion to table passed 237 to 140, with 47 Democrats voting present and 23 Democrats voting with Republicans to kill the resolution. But here is what that vote count actually tells you, and why it matters far more than the outcome. 140 members of the United States House of Representatives, more than a third of the entire chamber, voted against burying this resolution. They went on the record. Their names are in the official roll call archived by the Clerk of the House of Representatives. Not a petition, not a social media post, a formal legislative act that exists in the permanent record of American governance. That number 140 is also significantly larger than where Democratic support for impeachment stood just 6 months earlier. In June 2025, when Al Green forced a previous impeachment vote, only 78 Democrats voted to advance articles. By December, that number had nearly doubled to 140. The trajectory matters, the direction matters, and there is a specific reason why leadership's response to this vote was so carefully worded. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and his deputies did not vote yes. They voted present, and in the statement they issued moments before the vote, Democratic Whip Catherine Clark explained what that meant. The present vote was saying we know there have been impeachable offenses, and we are clear-eyed about that. We are also clear-eyed that we are in the minority. Democratic leadership is not disagreeing that the conduct is impeachable. They are disagreeing about whether now is the right moment to act. The internal Democratic debate over impeachment is not a fight between radicals and pragmatists. It is a genuine strategic disagreement between two serious positions, and understanding the difference is essential for understanding where this is headed. The members who voted against tabling, the 140 who want to advance impeachment, are making a specific argument. They are saying that conduct is ongoing, that every week without a formal constitutional response is another week in which a president who called for the execution of lawmakers faces no institutional consequence. That waiting until conditions are perfect is itself a form of enabling, and they are saying that the act of impeaching, of putting the conduct on the official record through the most serious constitutional mechanism available, matters even when Senate conviction is mathematically impossible under current partisan arithmetic. The leadership that voted present is making a different calculation. They are looking at the 2026 midterms, at the possibility of winning a House majority, and arguing that spending political capital on an impeachment that will certainly fail in the current Republican-controlled House energizes Trump's base more than it advances accountability. They are saying the path to real power, subpoena power, committee chairmanships, the ability to bring impeachment articles to a floor vote that actually passes, runs through November 2026 and not through December 2025. Both arguments are serious. Neither is obviously wrong, but here is what is not in dispute between the two sides: the conduct. The post calling for executions is real, it is documented, it generated real threats against real lawmakers, and 140 members of Congress have formally stated, on the official record, that they believe it crosses the constitutional threshold the impeachment power was designed to address. The December vote did not happen in isolation. It happened at the end of a year in which Trump's conduct generated formal impeachment resolutions covering an expanding range of constitutional violations. In June 2025, the first impeachment vote of the second term, 78 Democrats voted to advance. By December 14, the issues driving impeachment resolutions have multiplied with each passing month. The Iran war powers controversy, where Trump threatened military action without congressional authorization. The Epstein documents fight, where Democrats introduced articles specifically against Attorney General Pam Bondi for allegedly withholding documents a bipartisan transparency law required to be released. The court defiance pattern, where the administration's willful disregard of judicial orders in immigration cases prompted federal judges to threaten criminal contempt of senior officials. And now the explicit threat to the lives of sitting lawmakers. Each of these issues on its own generated formal impeachment articles. Together they have created a documented institutional record of a substantial block of the House, concluding that this administration's conduct has continuously and repeatedly crossed the constitutional threshold that the impeachment power exists to address. Trump himself acknowledged what is coming. At a House Republican policy retreat on January 6, 2026, he told his own party directly, "You gotta win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me." He is not wrong about the math. A Democratic House majority in 2027 would transform the 140 documented votes from an aspirational baseline into an operational decision that leadership would have to make immediately. The path from 140 votes against tabling to an actual successful impeachment requires specific things that are not yet in place. First, a House Democratic majority. With Republicans controlling the chamber, every impeachment resolution will be buried regardless of how many Democrats vote against tabling. The 2026 midterms are the structural prerequisite. Second, leadership willingness to schedule a floor vote. Even with a majority, the Speaker controls the floor schedule and could choose oversight and investigation over formal impeachment articles. The 140 members on record would be an immediate source of pressure. Third, a specific conduct trigger compelling enough to force the strategic calculation. Cohort of resistance-minded House Democrats is already pushing leadership to begin building the case now, in anticipation of a day one impeachment vote, if they retake the House in January 20. They are not waiting for the majority to begin the work. They are using the time in the minority to assemble the evidence, build the constitutional argument, and establish the documented baseline that a future majority would need to act quickly. The impeachment frenzy that critics have dismissed as political theater is, in this reading, not theater at all. It is groundwork. It is 140 members saying in the most formal way available to them that the conduct is documented, the threshold is crossed, and the only thing standing between the current situation and a formal impeachment proceeding is the partisan arithmetic of who controls the House floor. That arithmetic will be decided by voters in November 2026. And every member who voted against tabling on December 11, 2025, is already on record about what they intend to do when the numbers change. On November 19, 2025, a president posted 4 words calling for the execution of 6 sitting members of Congress. On December 11, 2025, 140 members of the House voted to advance articles of impeachment against him. Those votes are permanent. Those names are in the official roll call of the United States House of Representatives. They cannot be walked back, deleted, or reframed. They exist, and they will be immediately relevant the moment the political conditions change. Trump told his own party he knows what is coming. He said if Republicans lose the midterms, they'll find a reason to impeach me. He is not describing a conspiracy. He is describing a documented reality. 140 members have already told you exactly what they intend to do. The question is not whether the impeachment drive exists. The roll call answers that. The question is whether November 2026 gives it the majority it needs to move from the record into the chamber. Subscribe to Hidden Agenda, because between now and that answer, the story does not slow down, it accelerates.